Namaste, H.S.Shivprakash, and welcome to the program Light on the Path.
Thank you.
Through our conversation, we would like to throw some light on the path you have traveled in your life so far. And we hope that this will help others to see some light on their path too.
Milarepa, a debut collection of poems in Kannada in 1977 by a 23-year-old poet, was an instant success because of its freshness in thought and style. H.S.Shivprakash has arrived on Kannada poetry scene like a storm. His second collection in 1983, Mare Bidda Neladalli, established him as a forceful post-Bandaya poet with a distinct style. Not just writing, but his rendering style also set a new trend. An entire generation of poets after him copied him. H.S.Shivprakash has come a long way since then, winning awards and recognition for his commendable body of literary works that includes poetry, prose, scholarly writings. Born in Bengaluru in 1954 as the son of well-known author and scholar Shivamurthy Shastri, H.S.Shivprakash obtained an MA in English Literature from Bangalore University and served as a lecturer at Government Arts College at Tumkur. After 2 decades of serving as lecturer, H.S.Shivprakash shifted to New Delhi and served as an editor for Indian literature. He then joined as an associate professor at Jawaharlal Nehru University and currently is a professor of aesthetics and performance studies. In 2000, he was selected for the International Writing Program of the School of Letters, University of Iowa, and is honorary fellow of the school. Professor H.S.Shivprakash was also appointed as director of Tagore Center in Berlin. Published 4 collections of poetry: Anukshana Charite, Suryajala, Malaye Mantapa, and Matte Matte. Shivaprakash's poems make use of mystic symbolism, dream images, archetypes, and motifs from everyday life to portray the nature of power and the contradictions of modern life. As a playwright, H.S.Shivprakash has marked important milestones in Kannada theatre movement. He published his first play, Mahacharitra, in 1986. It is considered a modern classic along with P. Lankesh's Shankranti and Girish Karnad's Taledanda. Shivprakash won the Karnataka Sahitya Academy Award for his play. His English works are Incredible India, Traditional Theatres, I Keep Vigil of Rudra, The Vachanas, and Everyday Yogi. H.S. Shivprakash has been honoured with several prestigious awards and felicitations: Kusuma Raja Rashtriya Puraskar, Karnataka Sahitya Academy Award for Poetry, 4 Kannada Sahitya Academy Best Book Prizes, Sangeet Natak Academy Award, Ministry of Human Resource Development Fellowship for Kannada Literature, Honorary Fellow of School of Letters, Karnataka Rajyotsava Prashasti, and Sahitya Academy Award. Come, let's now take a sneak peek into the life of this great poet, H.S. Shivprakash.
Would you like to describe the Bangalore of that time? What are your earliest memory of your childhood, and which area of Bangalore you were growing up?
I was born in the heart of Bangalore.
Which is?
My house was near, very close to Majestic.
Okay.
There is a street called Rangaswamy Temple Street.
Yes.
Between Vadepet at one end and Avenue Road on the other.
Okay.
And I remember it as a very idyllic place.
That time?
That time. There was a temple towards the Avenue Road end. It's called Anjaneya Devasthan. There was also a Vishnu temple.
Okay.
So during spring season, there would be this Rathotsava, car festival of these deities.
Okay.
And we boys would gather on the either side of the road, and we would soak yellow leaves, you know, those gulmohar flowers
Gulmohar.
into that water.
Okay.
And we would have a sacred bath to celebrate this event.
Okay. Okay.
And secondly, Karaga.
Same area.
Karaga is the typical Bangalore festival, and in my Karaga would place that Shakti who carries Karaga would pass through many important streets of Bangalore.
Yes.
One of them was Badepet.
Badepet, yes.
So we would go and sit on stand on the second floor of buildings and watch this Karaga pass.
So what impressions, early impressions were formed in you by watching these card festivals and activities of your area?
See, it's very interesting because I found that the kind of religiosity which surrounded my birthplace and which pervaded my life in the form of festivals was one of celebration and enjoyment.
Good.
So Ganesha festival means you have Kadavu and all that.
Yes, yes.
Gauri festival means you have Podi and all that.
Right.
And only in the Yugadi, Kannada New Year, sweet with that bitter neem and sweet and so on. So basically, our religious culture is one of joy and celebration. Secondly, I lived in a very multicultural kind of setting, multilingual. On one side of my house, there were Marwaris who spoke Rajasthani, who knew Hindi, and they would speak Hindi as Kannada.
Yes.
And the opposite us, there were merchants who were Shettis who spoke Telugu. On the other side of the house, there were Tamil coolies and some tailors who spoke Marathi. So I was brought up in the multi. It was very interesting. And my own background, my father was from Karnataka, I was a Kannada scholar. My mother was from Tamil Nadu.
Oh.
So I learned Kannada and Tamil scripts simultaneously. At the same time, I grew up listening to all these languages. Only English was missing in my childhood.
Right. Okay, when did you start going to school and where was it and what type of school?
The earliest memory I have is I was put to some Shishu Vihara nursery school in Gandhinagar.
Okay, again just nearby,
just
across the KG Road.
Yeah, where this Annapurna restaurant is somewhere there, there was this school. So every day the van would come to pick me up and I would
you used
say
to go in a van, not walk or something?
No, it was quite a distance in those days. And then a lot of boys would, girls would go in that van. And I would always say I was against going to school. I hated school.
Why?
Because something I don't like this, too much disciplining. I want to be free. I preferred playing ground than school. So I preferred the loud people singing bhajans, but I didn't like worship, formal worship. So because I was that kind of anarchist from my childhood.
Right, from childhood.
In that's anarchist, not in the pejorative sense of the word. Freedom-loving kind of person. I could function best when I was not forced.
Free, liberty, out of your own will.
Yes. Luckily for me, I didn't go to the kind of schools the children go to schools these days. When they carry so many bags and notebooks to school, they look like Christ being led to his crucifixion. I would have said no to that kind of education.
That side, yeah.
It was playful. My schooling was playful, and then this was too far. Then we were put to one school very close to my house, that Pune in Chitra school, near Badepet. Pune was supposed to be Tipu Sultan's diwan, and Tipu Sultan said if he had these Chatras, hints in the name of his own name, Hindus would not eat it, so he gave it Puneya's name.
But basically it was supported by...
to support Tipu. That's what the legend goes. And I went to the school. It was a government school. Teachers would come and ask you some work, and they would go to sleep. And if anybody disturbed the sleep, they would get up, take a cane and beat us up. So when I was in second standard, the third standard, one teacher got angry with me. He beat me up, and then my father came. I shouted at him. He got him transferred to another place.
Oh, I see.
And got me promotion, double promotion.
So your father was influential.
He was influential.
I see.
In getting people punished.
Any particularly influential or memorable event or occurrence in your childhood?
There are some painful occurrences.
I see.
My mother was a victim of my father's tyrannical patriotic treatment. I don't want to go into the details. That was very painful.
Yeah.
And the most painful thing in my childhood, poignant and painful at the same time, is the way my mother was slaving and sweating every day.
For the family.
Because my father was an influencer, a lot of people come to our house. And whatever time, with respect to the number of people who came, she had to prepare food for them. The drop of my face, so many people come prepare the food. She had to do it.
Yeah.
Night or day, she had no difference. She had no rest. And still, she did all this with a lot of patience and perseverance, which I found very amazing in those days.
Even
now
in those days,
I think I find it very irritating. If men are tyrannically patriarchic, women have also co-opted this kind of thing.
No, but did they have choice?
I don't know. Choice can be there in any situation. When Jean-Paul Sartre said, even during the Nazism in France, people had choice. They could have honorably committed suicide. The moment they decide to live, they had to choose.
Yeah, that way.
So we are condemned to choose.
Yeah, that is the existentialist philosophy. And I don't know how much, say in terms of your mother's situation. Now one wonders what choices were there.
I know in those days women had very limited chances, because she was, before she got married to a 50-year-old man when she was 16, she was a school teacher. And she's the one who instilled, though my father was supposed to be a literary figure, it's not him. It's my mother who instilled my love of poetry and stories, literature.
What type of poetry or stories, I mean, you learnt or read those days?
My grandmother is a very important figure in my childhood. She was a mine of folk tales.
Folk tales, which is reflected, I think, in many of your poems and other writings.
And every day she would make up a new story.
Make up, you say?
Because she would tell the same story differently every day. And then she had a wonderful sense of humor. And she was not a very reverential kind of person. She could call a spade
a spade
in the name worse than a spade. So she's foul-mouthed also. And rustic sense of humor she had. And see, I saw these two contrasts. My mother was a submissive, servile woman, humble and sometimes bickering. So my grandmother who take things into control. Because my grandmother told me the husband died when she was 20. Husband died of plague in those days. Plague. And then my grandmother had to take care of the 3 children. My father and a sister and another. There was another girl. She had another girl, my grandmother. This girl also died of plague. She was a school teacher in those days. She also died of plague. So she had fought every inch of her way, and she was a strong woman. Whereas my mother was from...
yes, so you had two contrasting
images of women.
In your childhood.
Yes. One is Gora, the other was Agora.
But did you try to sort of choose any one of the model, or consciously in those days? Now you can say
consciously I chose my mother.
You chose.
But after many years I look back, I should have chosen my grandmother. Because this image of the mother I projected on the women who came into my life, and things didn't work out well. If I projected the image of my grandmother, who was earthy, rustic, not mincing her words,
yeah, it
my life experience would have been very positive, and maybe I had a much better relationship with women, not only with lovers and so on, with all kinds of women with whom I have friends, daughters, this kind of relationship, teacher student kind of relationship. So this image which is being perpetuated in the contemporary Indian mythology of the submissive, servile woman, always waiting to be ordered about by the husband, which many women also, even these days, buy unconsciously. This has ruined man-woman happiness in this country, I think. But we should show, and now I am happy that a lot of great works of fiction are doing it, like Rudali and so on, Devendra Mahadevas, Udlada, etc., where we have this kind of women, proactive, fighting.
I'm happy that you have brought out these points in this conversation. Okay, going back to your this thing, when did you do your high school and from where?
See, when I went to school, I wanted to go to convent school.
Convent you wanted?
I wanted to go to St. Joseph's school. My father said no. Because if I put you there, these people will teach you, make you eat eggs, and they'll make you drink alcohol.
You were pure vegetarian?
He was a vegetarian, and he said no. Then he put me to government schools, and then high school I went to Central High School.
Central High School, okay.
It's again, there were two schools in those days which were called rowdy schools.
Which
one was Fort High School near the city market.
Chamraj.
Second is my school.
Okay.
I think Rajnikant studied in Fort High School. I knew one of his classmates.
Okay.
He was an actor in our theatre. I was in the rowdy school number 2. But I liked this ambience and so on. But when I was in like 8th and 9th standard, I was okay. I had very good teachers. Even to this day, I'll say the best teachers I had was not in private schools but in government schools. And then something, somehow became a little sophisticated. I said, why should I say I should stay in a good school? Then I fought with my father. They put me to Bangalore High School.
Okay.
But after going there, I should have stayed in Central High School. Bangalore High School was too sophisticated. Everybody is speaking English and so on, and it has a very upper caste kind of atmosphere. Of course, they were also very good teachers. It's a very good school, but somehow I was very close to the subaltern kind of people. I didn't feel at home. So I started bunking my classes.
Okay.
I fell in love with movies.
At this point in adolescence, what were your aspirations and let's say what you wanted to be?
It's very funny.
That point of
I wanted to be either a veterinary doctor.
I see, interesting.
Or an agricultural scientist.
Okay.
Sometimes I fantasized of becoming a movie director.
Okay.
Never an actor.
Director.
Director. And also I wanted to own a movie house where I can watch movies day in and day out without paying for it.
As much as you want.
Yes.
Okay.
So these were my and another ambition that crept into my mind later was to become the world-class wrestler. I wanted to become a wrestling superstar.
So there are many things actually.
Many things.
Many choices.
Yes.
Okay. But by this time, by the time you were in high school, and you had developed some reading habits, or it was just going.
What?
Reading habits.
Reading, yes. It's very unconscious, and I don't like bookish people to this day. But when I when I joined this honors course, English literature, in those days, because somebody said in those days, if you do your MA in English, you get a job easily.
Right.
Those days it was like that. The moment you produce the MA English, you will get a job. When I went into this honors, and then I joined this, then I started reading a lot. Because it's not because I was keen to learn literature, I wanted to improve my English.
Okay, so you were reading
because
English?
English. For English I was reading.
What type of books were you reading?
Most of them teach yourself English. And my Bible was one book called some grammar book by Daniel, some best about somebody.
Okay, okay.
Because Ren and Martin,
Martin.
I wanted to become a great linguist, that ambition.
Okay.
So I took a lot of grammar, linguistics, because I wanted to speak perfect English. And books on English pronunciation, phonetics, etc., etc. But
in high school you were reading those things?
When I came
little
to
later.
College. And gradually, somehow this cunning muse, poetry, has stolen my heart.
Took over you, eh?
Without unconsciously.
When did you write your first poem?
First poem I wrote when I was in primary school.
I see.
One day, because I was brought up in an urban milieu, one day somebody brought a peacock.
Right.
He was a beggar. Peacock was making dance.
You written a poem, More Utara Tha.
Yes. Then I wrote a poem about peacock. So I liked
that was the first poem?
First poem. But my father was also, he was a good scholar, but he was a poetaster. Because he wanted the rhymes and everything to be matra, to be correct.
Yes.
He took it and he made his own poem of it, which I found disgusting. That put me off for many years.
Okay.
But when I was in first honors in Central College, we had a teacher, a very good teacher, but her English was so good I couldn't follow.
Oh, I see.
So I just started feeling sleepy. So to get rid of the sleep, I would start scribbling lines.
When she is delivering the lecture.
And as if pretending to take notes and so
making
on.
notes.
Making notes and so on. Then this is how it started. My reading of poetry, interest in reading poetry was coeval with my interest in writing poetry.
Okay, together.
To this day, when I write a good poem, I want to translate it somehow.
Translate it?
Translate it into my own words, to make it my own.
Okay.
That's how I enter poems.
Will you say that there's something to do with an adage that art begets art? Was it something like that when you read a good poetry, you feel like writing?
No,
it was not that.
Pablo in his book talks about autobiography, poems born of poems. I don't like them at all.
Okay. So it was not that.
Poetry should connect you to your existential crisis.
No, not all the poems, but sometimes perhaps, is it? That
no, all the poems, even a comical poem.
Okay.
It's a rite of passage. In Kannada I have called it Kondavanno Hayuvodu. Rite of passage. Every poem is a rite of passage.
Yes, you are right. It has to be your own.
Take you through the flames of everyday life.
Samsara.
And you'll come out of it without being reduced to ashes.
Were you aware of these things at that point of time? What were the source of, let's say, your poetry at that point of time when you just started writing?
See, knowledge. I'm not talking about scholarly knowledge.
Right.
Creative knowledge. Practical knowledge. Somewhere in the Quran, Prophet Muhammad compares a scholar who reads a lot of books to an ass carrying a lot of burden. I don't believe in that kind of scholarship. I don't believe in that kind of knowledge. What I call creative knowledge, you don't get it at once. It comes to you piecemeal, by and by. And after a considerable period of time, it coalesces into a kind of knowledge that one can articulate.
Okay.
So when some new insight comes, new inspiration comes, you feel it, but you can't articulate it. The moment you try to conceptualize it, it will run away.
It loses its.
So you should follow it.
But then, would you say that one has to be sort of receptive to these you call inspiration or insights which are coming piecemeal, or it does happen?
One should know what to be receptive to, and what to be deceptive to, and what one should avoid.
Very true.
So there's no one formula. See, there's a famous poem by the Czech poet Miroslav Holub, a conversation between Valéry, the French poet critic Paul Valéry, and Albert Einstein. This is a poem. Paul Valéry asks him, Mr. Einstein, in your field, when you get a new idea, how do you remember? Do you write it down? Do you commit it to memory? Do you speak it out and record it? Einstein says, no. Said Herr Einstein, no. It's very rare that we get original ideas.
Yes.
Once we get them, we'll never forget. No, we'll never forget.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come back to, now you are, let's say, in college. So now, were there, new perspective? What was your worldview at this point of time? You are in college and a whole new world is before you. What were your worldview? What was your philosophy of life? And new inspirations or new aspirations or anything that time?
Of course, I had some romantic aspirations, and most of the girls I fell for, they would never look at me. So I decided I'm a flop in this area. I gave up the search. So I liked unilateral love affairs without expecting anything.
Harmless.
It's a kind of bhakti.
Yes.
It's a human mortal kind of bhakti, you can say. But more interestingly, I developed a very severe health problem before I got into college. I had pleurisy, and Victoria Hospital people, they tried to treat me for some other disease, wrong diagnosis, and I was on deathbed. When I came, my health was very frail. I had to do something then I started practicing yoga.
You mean asana? Yoga asanas or the whole
asanas
practice?
Because I started reading the books of Swami Shivananda, and I've been interested in Vivekananda since my childhood. So I started doing yoga, and then gradually pranayama and meditation, and yoga became a very great passion in my life. And then I went to
around what age you will say that?
This was a very long term. This was my first love, to be speaking, not even poetry. So I would spend so much time doing yogasanas. I've spent some 60% of my lifetime in yoga and spiritual practices than anything else. Maybe 20%, 25% in writing poetry, plays, and so on. The rest of it, all kinds of nonsense. So I was a very intense practitioner, and this went on. This passion, this practice, tapasya, it stayed with me till the age of, let's say, 55, 57. Then, before this could happen, my Sufi master, when I was about 35 or so, he used to tell me, because he was illiterate, he couldn't pronounce the sound Shah, H.S.Shivprakash, whatever you do, you should do in your youth. People say we want to become spiritual in old age. You have no strength. Whether you want to achieve anything in the world or in spirituality, it is now when you are young. And after you get old, then the rest. You reap the fruits.
This is around when you were about 35?
When I was 35, 37. But still I went on. Then around the age of 60 or something, some inner calm dawned on me. And then this is the time to rest. I do some practices because bad habits have become obese, and I have to do a lot of yogasanas and pranayama, and this stage very difficult. It's easy to gain weight, difficult to lose it.
Yeah.
I'm fighting with it. Still, I believe in the power of yoga. It's not a kind of cure-all, but it has done me a lot of good, and to this day, doing me a lot of good. Not just physical yoga, then it's other dimensions of yoga. And I believe in the multiplicity of yogas. There are so many, because human temperaments are so widely different. Each temperament is a different permutation and combination of yogic practices. But most of the yoga schools, this is standard, which doesn't work.
Yeah, maybe we'll come back to that little later. Let's go back again to your, say, early youth. When did you get your job, and what were you looking for when you were looking for a job? I mean, did you require it, and how did it happen, and when did it happen?
See, after I completed my master's in English.
Now, how did you choose English?
I told you, because somebody still gets easy to get jobs.
Yeah, you said. Yeah.
And then there was no English in my childhood.
So that was still.
So it was like falling in love with a foreign woman. Okay, it was that kind of thing. And then
so
my father
did you do it, masters in, and from where did you do it?
In Central College.
Central College.
And the last semester we went to the new Gnanavarti campus.
So that was early 70s.
In 73 I completed my 75.
75, okay.
73 on the 75.
And then you were looking for a job.
I didn't have to look for a job. The moment I finished it, I got a part-time job in KLU Society Union College. I started teaching immediately.
Okay.
And within a year, after that, I got a full-time job in Kalpataru College, Tiptur, where I worked for about 5 days.
Okay.
In the meantime, I got the government job in college education department. So I reported to government college Tumkur, where I worked for about 10 years. That was the most creative period of my life.
Okay.
Then I came to Home Science College and
Bangalore,
and
Maharani's
College. Till 1997 was Maharani's College. Then I went to Sahitya Academy. I went to JNU.
Okay, okay. But I would like to know that, you see, when you got the job, and the feeling you get when you got your first salary. Can you recall what type of feeling you had, and what did you do with that money? First, when you got it?
I tell you. See, my father wanted me to become a bank officer, because my father was very close to the general manager of Vijaya Bank those days, one Sundar Ram Shetty. So I'll talk to him and get you a bank officer's job. And many people say it's a fantastic job. But I said no. I want to be a teacher.
So I mean, you were quite clear about it?
I was very clear about it. Because I wanted to teach poetry, I wanted to teach literature. And then
English poetry or poetry per se?
Poetry per se. Particularly, I was very fond of romantic poets, Wordsworth, Coleridge, and so on. And mystical poets, William Blake, and so on.
But who were your favorite Kannada poets or writers?
See,
that time?
I started, though my house was full of Kannada books, ancient, medieval, modern. My passion for Kannada literature was only after I started doing English MA.
Okay.
Because many of my teachers were English professors writing in Kannada.
Right, yes.
Lankesh and Anantmurthy was never my teacher, but with whom I had that kind of relationship, Chandrasekhar Patil and so on. So I wanted to continue the same tradition. And B.M. Shrikantayya, the so-called father of modern Kannada literature, so-called father of modern Kannada literature, was also a professor of English.
Adiga also.
Adiga, so was Adiga, who is my poetry guru undoubtedly. But there is a tradition of modern Kannada literature written by English professors, and though I have now grown more fond of that written by people from other backgrounds, like K.S. Narasimha Swami, for example, Puthi Narasimhacha, for example, Bendre, for example, and Kuvempu, for example, and so on and so forth. So I wanted to follow the example. And my father was a Kannada scholar, don't forget this.
Yeah.
So I could connect to, and there was since my childhood, I was brought up reading Vachanas. That was the sacred literature for us. No, nothing else. So it was, then I started falling in love with bhajans in Ramakrishna Ashram, started going to Ramakrishna Ashram.
Okay.
I loved bhakti poetry. So that's why I took literature and all this, you know, and became a teacher.
What about the first salary and your feeling about
First salary, when I remember, I was posted to Tumkur, and after I reported for 3 months, I didn't get the salary.
I see.
And after that, they had to do so many formalities were involved. My first salary was, the gross salary was 613 rupees.
Okay. Okay.
Then, of course, the price went up and the pay scales was hiked and so on. When I retired, my basic was nearly 2,11,000. So that's the journey I've made. Of course, my salary has increased so many times. Of course, but the price has increased
also
many more times.
Yeah. Okay, you have taught for about 21 years before you went to JNU in Tumkur.
I taught for from 1990. No, it was 1976 to 1997. 21 the College Education Department.
Yes, yes.
And then for 5 years Sahitya Academy.
Sahitya Academy, and then
again in JNU.
JNU 30.
With the exception of my deputation to Germany.
Berlin.
To the Indian Embassy.
Yes, we'll come to that.
From 2011 to 2014.
3 years, okay. No, I was saying that you taught in Tumkur, you taught in Home Science College, you taught in Maharani's College, you taught all women classes, you taught co-education, you taught only boys.
Yes.
Now, would you like to say what difference it is in teaching, let's say, all boys or co-education or all women? Is there any difference in teaching these various
See, I was first taught in those government arts college Tumkur. Was a co-education college. There were more boys than girls.
Okay.
I liked it because I could feel free with them. I could make jokes with them, and I was my classes used to be very humorous, and people liked it. Because I discovered that unless you make jokes, they'll start laughing at your seriousness. I became a very popular teacher. But after this, when I was transferred to Bangalore, I was posted to all women's college. Because there were no women in my childhood. I had some kind of phobia about women. Whenever I had to speak to a woman, my legs would start shaking. Except my mother, some girls
and grandmother.
No other women in my life. No sisters, nothing. I was terribly afraid. So I requested the then director of college education, please post me to somewhere. She said, either go there or I'll post you to Gulbarga. Then I said, okay, go there. Just imagine, 3,000 girls, teachers. What do I do?
How many other?
It's like Arjuna going to Pramila Rajya. But gradually I discovered these girls were very mischievous.
They were mischievous.
When I was young, you know, when any young teacher came, they would rag him a lot.
Okay. How were you ragged?
They didn't rag me.
Okay, I see.
At first they tried, but they found me very serious. My big difference, but Tumkur I teach everything in Kannada. Here all these girls from North Indian background, and most of them only English. So I had to switch out in teaching in English. It was quite an effort for me. When I did that, I became their favorite. They never ragged me. They always looked up to me. And I was the only young teacher, male teacher, who was not ragged in the college.
Okay.
And this college has a very good ambience. There was trees inside, and this quail bird coming and singing and so on.
Good.
Some of my best poetry I wrote. It was a very quiet time, and very good colleagues.
And creatively very
creatively and so on.
Okay.
So I have two extremes. But when I go to JNU, another kind of teaching again.
I was going to.
Because my teaching is always, you know, subaltern and somewhat making jokes. I believe in commonsensical way of teaching. too much theory. In Jain, it has to be different.
Different. Okay.
So I adopt my teaching again. I could do that.
Okay.
So I can teach at any level. I depend
any level and any class.
Any kind of.
Any class.
And that helped my helped me to shape different poetic idioms.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting.
I don't write in one style like many modernists in Kannada did. They were masters of style. The modernism is all about style.
Right, right.
I don't believe in style. I believe in substance. And we have to have different communicative strategies.
So you think you attribute that to this experience of teaching different types of...
Yes, teaching.
Okay.
Very good. The poet and teacher both use words.
So therefore...
and a teacher may be communicating very profound sense. But it is not students they have to tell us.
Yes.
If a student walks out of my class, I don't blame that, I blame myself. Same as in theatre, if a spectator walks out, that is my problem. In a poetry, if somebody yawns when I'm reading a poem, that is my problem. So it's my job to
engage,
develop effective and diverse communication skills.
And that is reflected in your poetry also.
Yes, in my poetry also.
I wonder whether we can talk about, say, your marriage. I understand it didn't work out. We are not going to talk about those details, but I'm interested. Did you learn any lessons from the marriage?
It's not quite accurate to say that marriage didn't work.
Okay, okay.
I have gone through. My life is full of contrasts, extremes. I have seen the worst of marriage. I have seen the best of marriage, and I have realized that this too shall pass. Both agony and ecstasy will pass, because it is said that a yogic seeker goes in one life through so many lifetime experiences, which other people go through in 20 lifetimes. So I experience so much. It's both. What I have realized, to sum up in a nutshell, man-woman relationships, whether in marriage or outside, do not work out most of the times, except for some time, because of the patriarchic
attitude of the husband.
Mindset of men, part of which is imbibed by women also. So unless there is a kind of catharsis has to happen to society, I think catharsis is happening in different ways. And sometimes catharsis can be very violent also. So this patriarchic mindset has to go, because a lot of opposition to patriarchy these days, I find, is inverted patriarchy. To replace one kind of hierarchy with another kind of hierarchy.
But the balancing has to...
It has to be balancing.
Balancing has to harmonize.
So what I learned from, and also my life experience, in my youth, I believed in conflictual approach to experience. Revolution has to happen. Oppose somebody. Even sometimes that fighting habit comes back to me. But I realized this has created so many negative experiences in my life. Even today, in my personal life, in the country, in the world, it's better to have a non-conflictual mode of understanding and living.
Okay, that's I mean, nice of you to share with us. I mean, your
what
views on
Tantras is called Madhyama Dasha.
Okay, let's come back to your poetry. When was your and poetry and creative writings in general? When was your first book published? And
my first book came out soon after I completed my masters. It was Milarepa.
Milarepa. collection of poems.
Collection of poems. So one of the poems became a very famous poem because it was picked up by my guru Gopal Krishna Diga, published in his journal.
I am told that is the poem which established you as a Kannada poet.
To some extent. But when my second book came, there was a poem, Made Bidda Neladalli, the poem Samagara Bhimava, that became a kind of the cult poem in those days. Young people all over Karnataka.
Which year you remember?
That was after I was transferred to Bangalore. It's around 1983.
1983. Okay.
And then in the meantime, I'd written during the emergency, which was a poem against emergency dictatorship called Singirar Sampadane. Of course, I wouldn't write about these things directly.
Yes.
I would go to history, mythology, and so on.
And
folklore, etc. Samagara Bhimava, and then another poem called Murala Shankaradeva. So these are the poems which kind of established me, which is not a very good thing for a poet to happen, because then the danger is your readers start expecting you to repeat the same success, and poets fall into that trap. I have not fallen into that trap. I have written so many other different styles.
Yeah, you have 9 collection of poetry.
No, now I have 13.
13. And plays about 15 or something?
About 17, 18.
17 plays. And critical work, 3 or 4.
Yes.
But all this, which genre is your, can we say this is a fair question to ask, which is your favorite genre?
I thought poetry was my favorite genre. But now I think it's something else which expresses in different genres, in different contexts. One thing I am not capable of. When I speak, I am a good storyteller. I can't write fiction. Because I can't remember details. When I try to recollect any experience, I can vividly recollect the emotional impact of it, the feel of it. But I can't remember details. For example, we are having this interview today. When I think back to it after a month or so, I may not remember what kind of kurta you were wearing. But other things I remember. The meaning, the emotions I remember.
Yeah, you have written so much and over so many decades, and so many awards and recognitions have come your way. Sahitya Academy, Sangeet Natak Academy, Rajyotsava Award, and so many others. Which recognition you think you value?
None of them.
All right.
If award comes to you, that's fine.
All right.
And I would have said no, but I am not very rich, so it brings me some money, so I accept it.
Then what about if the awards are not so important as far as creativity is concerned, or you personally are concerned, but
what is important is a lot of people should read me. I challenge somebody to make a survey of readership in Karnataka. I have greater number of readers, fans, and imitators than people who won bigger awards than me.
No,
and when I tried.
So that is more satisfying.
For example,
that more people
when I started writing my columns in Prajavani, my columns, people who have not read my poetry, they read my whole columns. And people who watch my plays like Montes Swami, they don't know my poetry. So I reach out to my readers, my audiences. I prefer to call them audiences than readers. Because I don't think ultimately poetry doesn't have readers, it has audiences. We don't read poetry, we resonate with poetry, we feel poetry. We taste, to use the term from Aswada. It is Swadhya. It is taste-worthy. So I do it in different ways, and what more do I want?
No, then tell me.
And also, not only in here, when I go to far-off countries, in Latin America, for example, in Europe, the moment my poetry is translated out, people respond to as if it is their own. And one of my plays, Madari Madaya, which was translated into English, which the great Manipuri director Kanal took a lot of interest in. He gave it to one director from Assam, a Rabha director, Shukracharya Rabha, When you read the play, you think this is our own the story of our tribe, Raba's story. And he makes a production of it, which won a lot of recognition in the Raba language, which I never knew had existed anywhere in the world. And he had not heard of me. And the mythology is the use of Malay Madheshwar from Karnataka.
Okay, okay.
So, this is so, Tagore has a beautiful line in his Gitanjali. And I'm told he wrote it when Masti Venkatesh Iyengar went to meet him in place and Jorasanko. Koto ajanale janale tumi, koto gore dile dai, durke korile nikote bondhu, porke korile bhai. In how many houses did you make me enter? And you made the distant my kinsperson and the stranger my brother. So this is able to, makes me, it enables me to reach people, life forms everywhere, not only in the present, in the past, and in the unborn future.
So what will be your message to aspiring writers?
I don't believe in giving anybody guidance.
Okay, but
because my guru Adiga, when another poet friend took me to him, sir, you please advise him. He is not being loyal to poetry. Today he starts reading science, mathematics, this and that. Adiga said, don't advise poets. Do you know when a bee has to make one drop of honey, how many flowers it has to go to? So he has to find his own way.
Right. Okay.
So there are no standard methods. You find your own way.
But how important?
But the proof of the pudding is in the eating of it.
Understood.
The tree is known by the fruit.
Yeah, yeah. But will you say that the study of criticism, study of theories of poetics and things like that, how do they play any role in your creativity?
If you are a good poet, none of these things and all of these things can help you. If you are a bad poet, none of these things and all of these can damage you. You know what to take, what not to take. Adiga has this beautiful line in his poem Prarthane, Kalisu baguvudannu, bagade satayudannu. Teach me when to bend and when not to bend and stand stiff.
Wonderful, wonderful.
When to be passive, when to be receptive, when to shut yourself up. Like Emily Dickinson, the soul selects its own society and shuts the door on her divine majesty. Obtrude no more.
What will be your message to the youth of today? As a
youth is the best time to be in. I made most of it, though I suffered a lot during my youth. This is the time to taste both joys and sufferings. I don't believe in restraint. I believe in William Blake's message. The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom.
Okay.
So this is my message to the youth. The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom, but to take the consequences.
Be prepared for that.
Be prepared. Otherwise, play safe.
Any regrets in life, Shivprakash?
Except that, one regret is, if my image of the woman inside me, in which Jungian psychologists call my own anima, had been my grandmother, robust, fighting grandmother, instead of my passive, submissive, uncomplaining mother, or just grumbling mother. That's the only regret I have, nothing else.
What did attract you to spirituality in the first place?
One of my poetry and spiritual gurus, William Blake, said, whenever man has something, the cry is for more, but nothing can, but all can satisfy human spirit. What is this all? All with capital A. This is what I wanted, I was longing for. And a Swedish poet, Gunnar Ekala, puts it very beautifully. One of his hymns to the Mother Goddess. He says, if you ask me to describe your height, I would put a star at your head, a star at your feet. But I know there is no star at your head or at your feet. If I could describe your breath, I would choose an embrace which is false and primitive. But still, just an inch of your loveliness I have known.
Wonderful.
So how to reach that all through this? How to see the ocean in a drop of water? So the day we can't see the whole ocean, we can't hold it in our hands. But if we can feel,
Katra mein dazla dikhai na
yes, the whole ocean, Sindhu in Bindu.
Bindu.
This quest for all, I think this is what drives people through all kinds of desires, drags and drives them to all kinds of desires.
Is this the reason that you have gone to many masters, many guides, many gurus, you can say? So it was not because of, let's say, any confusion or disturbance, but it was that you really wanted the all with capital A, and therefore you were
all. Because most of the masters I went
and this
to,
also this open-mindedness. You have gone to Christian gurus or guides. You have gone to Muslim guides. You have gone to Hindu guides. You have gone to
Shaiva, Vaishnava,
everybody. So you, to what you attribute this openness of mind? It's not very common to have.
Because you see, normally it's said, and the spiritual masters say, those who want to keep their flock together, one master, one disciple, okay, one mantra. But look at Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he had 3 gurus. Ramana Maharshi had no human guru. And Abhinav Gupta had several gurus. He had a Kaula guru, he had a guru Pratyabhigna, somebody else was Spanda. And Abhinav Gupta says one thing, I went to many masters, I learned from them. Whenever they said, this is all,
I
wrote them with respect, I moved on.
Okay.
Ultimately, this the basic thing I argued in my new book, Guru 10 Doors to Ancient Wisdom. Guru is the principle, ultimately Guru is within you. And the job of a Guru is to make you free from dependence on Guru. But what I see around me are Gurus who are making you more and more dependent on them. Because my great Guru used to communicate to me through a medium. Now it has stopped because I don't need the medium anymore.
Through this journey, or maybe we will not go into what has been your experiences. You have written about many of them, but apart from spiritual lessons or experiences, what practical lessons did you learn from this spiritual journey? Because after all, you are in a world.
How to live my everyday, every minute meaningfully. Supposing I am ill today, I can spend the whole day cursing my fate, filling my thought with putting blames on other people, putting blame on America, CIA, or some caste, upper caste, lower caste, some enemy, and so on. That's one way of doing it, passing the buck. The other thing is to realize this has come, how best I can
make use of it.
I can meditate on illness. Anything can become the object of meditation. It's not just spiritual things. Even the most horrible thoughts that come into our mind can become objects of meditation. So, if you have that spiritual attitude, openness, then anything can become spiritual. Otherwise, even so-called spiritual things can become very selfish and mundane.
Thank you, Shivprakash. May you get what you are looking for through your creativity and through your spiritual journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.